our first moment on Masterchef season 6 was together, and then our exit in season 12 was at the same time.
We did communicate and work and collaborate so strongly during the challenge that ultimately sent us both home. Why was shade being thrown towards me? I did nothing to instigate with anyone.
No, but you were real quick to tell me to shut the fuck up if you needed to. Amanda!
Derrick!
Welcome to A Bunch of Losers. You are absolutely not a loser. You are winning at the game of life. Tell me what's going on.
I do want to say that I was hesitant to come on the show only because of the name, and I do believe words have power. And I think we should redefine winning because we all went there to win. We all want to win. But it's like the lessons, the friendships, all the corny, cheesy stuff, but that's so real because that's what you remember when you leave there. So I just want to say that. I think you're winning
Well,
though. So
I appreciate you overcoming that hurdle and coming on. I kind of really, I mean, I thought about it, and it was about just kind of the tongue in cheek of it, like why would there be a podcast about losers and it's not about losers? It's about the fact that like we all went and tried to win, and there's just more people that didn't win, but also like it's our story is just as important as the person that wins. And so I think that's what I really wanted to share, is that like everyone's like, oh, the person that won, they chose them because of their story. It's like, well, okay, well, let's hear about everybody else's story, because I bet you it's just as good, if not better. And it's not even a comparison. It's just like everyone has their own walk of life, right?
that's beautiful. I love that. I didn't even know that that was kind of like your frame of reference for like starting, and that's a beautiful lens to be doing this podcast in. So, yay.
Thank you. So obviously we've known each other for a while now, and we follow each other on socials. You've been like, what was this dinner you just did? It looked amazing. The dessert looked fantastic.
Thank you. That's where I shine in dessert. I love dessert so much. So the last dinner I did was at Folk Detroit, and they do a series called Food Folk. And they invite different chefs from different cultures to share their cuisines once a month. And ours was so successful, they've invited me back to do like a regular thing. So I'll be doing some patio things this summer at Folk, and it's really cool because the owner, Rohani Folk, is just amazing indigenous Australian woman who created this beautiful coffee shop, cafe, market in Detroit, and it's really lovely.
Wow. How'd you get synced up with them?
So I've known Rohani for years. The food community in Detroit is really collaborative and really connected. There was a group years ago called Food Lab Detroit, and I had met Rohani in there. We'd go like to the same classes, and that's when I was starting my bakery and everything. So we've been friends and collaborating ever since.
I think collaboration is one of the most important things with chefs. I mean, you see it like I like to watch like comedy is like my release. Like I watch a lot of stand up. I go to a lot of stand up, and I notice that like the most successful comedians are the ones that are collaborating and supporting each other rather than competing. Like it just I don't I it's funny because we were on a show where we're competing against each other, but it's like like that's like the worst thing to do as cooks and chefs. Like we need to be learning from each other and collaborating and lifting each other up, you know?
Absolutely. And I think that's something we actually, you and I did beautifully. And I know I'm jumping ahead, but I do feel strongly, and that's what I want the audience to know, that we did communicate and work and collaborate so strongly during the challenge that ultimately sent us both home.
Slow down.
But we collaborated so well. Like it was so
Yeah.
beautiful. And we were actually talking. I think we were the only ones getting along during that whole challenge.
Yeah, I mean, we can skip ahead for the fans that have watched both seasons and know what happened. If you don't know what happened, pause and come back. Um, Yeah, I got chewed out the other day for spoilers, and I'm like, yo, we are like 2.5 years later. If you haven't watched yet, I can't help you. I was so excited when we got paired up because I was like, yeah, like there's no. I literally like was thinking. I didn't say it out loud because I didn't want to jinx it, but I was like, there's no way we're losing this challenge. But I also want to say I do find myself defending you weekly because I mean people just don't understand that the way TV portrays what happened versus what actually goes down is sometimes and a lot of times different. And a lot of people have come to my Instagram and Facebook and just like, I hate Amanda, and I'm like, it's not Amanda's fault at all. Please do not blame Amanda at all. I mean, it it's wild that people can look at a small episode of television like that and like place blame. It's like what? I'll send you the contract. Call Gordon Ramsay and blame him. He could have absolutely put us through. It says he has the final word.
Yeah, and I think that was, like, my biggest thing after the show and, like, after that episode aired was, the complete, like, hatred and just, like, aggression online that was directed solely towards me, and, the episode is so, like, edited, and we got so much, like, little screen time to even, like, show, like, how we were communicating, how we were, like, talking through, how we even came up with the dish,
Yeah.
all of that, and that it really was collaborative and, like, you had ideas, we just were, like, spitballing really fast. I think we had, like, 3 minutes.
Well, in 3 minutes, and like, and out of those 3 minutes, we had Gordon yelling at us the most in the pantry. It was like, Gordon, shut the fuck up for 2 seconds. We come from wildly different food backgrounds, and we're trying to communicate. You're like fucking this up right now, you know. Um, and also, I mean, like when they laid out the rules, so like you need to have the exact same plate, you need to have the exact same dish, it needs to be plated the exact same way, it needs to be cooked the exact same way, and they lay all that out, and then like there's other contestants where they don't have the same dish, they don't have the same cook, they don't have the same plating. It was like, well, wait a minute, we followed all the rules.
I think there were 3 other teams during that specific challenge that did worse than us.
I think so too. uh I think so too. If there was, okay, let me ask you this. If we went back and we had the opportunity to do this again, I know this does nothing for anything, but if you could pick a different protein, what would you pick?
If I could go back and we can, like, change it, I would just, like, ask you to speak in English and not French. And just, like, whatever dish that you had in mind, just say it to me in language that I understand, and then we would've made that, and it would've been fine.
uh, if I could go back, I would have switched to scallops.
Mm.
My problem here was my problem because I did this with season 6 when Claudia and Steven and I had to compete against each other in top 3, the challenge before the finale. The dish that I did, which I won the challenge with, I was actually trying to save that dish for the finale. And I thought to myself, I don't know if I'm going to get an opportunity past this, so I shouldn't save it. And I burned it for that challenge. I was like, I just got to put this card down and hope that I make it through. And then hopefully the next cards are, face cards. But I burned that dish. So when we were together, I was like, there's no way we're going home. And I was like, it's not time to do scallops yet. That's all I was thinking. I was playing the puzzle of the game. I was like, I'm not going to suggest scallops. If Amanda suggests scallops, which I didn't think you would, I was like, we'll go scallops. But I was like, I was saving it. And so looking back, I'm like, there was the lesson again. I should have just burned it. Should have tried.
Well, I think also it's important for viewers to know that I was extremely sick, like the 2 challenges and leading up to that challenge. So, I think the majority of the cast knew that it was gonna be the wall challenge, and I was just, like, resting and trying to, like, prepare for the next day versus, like, everyone was like, "Oh, watch this, make sure you have ideas," and I walked in like, "Oh, I feel better today, yay, and then there's, like, this wall, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness."
Well, and yeah, you were, and that is amazing that you were pushing through like you were, which is also kind of like odd that like that happens in the restaurant industry so much that people like are just working so sick and they shouldn't be, but there's some for some reason the culture demands it. I don't agree with it, uh, but also like they left me out of that conversation that it's going to be the wall. Everyone talked. It was like it's the wall. It's the wall. It's the wall. I didn't hear about it. I found out about the wall the second we were walking in, looking at that big ass fucking wall. Because I didn't watch MasterChef past our season 6. I couldn't, so I didn't know about this challenge.
Yeah, I didn't watch season 11 either. I didn't know that you were unaware. Oh, man, that's so fucked. They're so
Yeah,
mean.
people are shady. So
Those were your friends.
yeah, put it on me. Uh, everybody love everybody. Okay. Uh,
Hard to do in a
I
competition.
God, so hard, right? I just I love the little soundbite we have from that. You were like, "Fuck everybody except Derrick."
I was so pissed. Why was shade being thrown towards me? I did nothing to instigate with anyone. And I mean, if you are just a really good chef and are confident in what you do, you automatically have a target. So
Yeah,
shade is going to be thrown where it's not due, and that
yeah.
pissed me off. And that was never the case with you and a few other people. I just like respect, like you know what you're doing, and yeah, you're not gonna start beef when there's nothing there.
No, but you were real quick to tell me to shut the fuck up if you needed to.
Always.
Always. Sometimes I'd be like, I don't even know if I should talk to Amanda today.
It was a competition after all.
Oh, it's kind of funny because like you're always so colorful. You always have the best smile on, but like you compete just as hard, if not harder, than everybody else. Like oddly.
Yeah, don't like the sunshiny exterior fool you.
Yeah. Fucking gangster in there. Okay, let's go back a little bit. I like to ask everyone this question. Before MasterChef, I mean, obviously, I know you were doing social work, but which I do want to hear about too. I want to hear about the challenges and what got you into that as well. But what was it? What was the moment that you're like, you know what? I want to try out for MasterChef, or I want to audition for MasterChef, and like, what was the thing that pushed you in that direction? And what were you doing leading up to that?
I was super burnt out as a social worker, and all of my mentors and my supervisor were like, "You need to have, like, self-care, you need to have an outlet," and my outlet was food, and that's when I created amandasplate.com and just started sharing for my family and friends, really, like, "These are what I'm these are the recipes I'm making for dinner, this is, like, what I'm baking, look at how I make it beautiful and colorful from traditional like Lebanese recipes, and this is what I'm doing." And then I was watching MasterChef, and it was the first season that I was watching was season 5, and I thought it was hilarious and so fun. And there was a casting call like at the end of it. It was like, "Do you have what it takes?" And I was like, "You know what? Like this social work thing will always be here. I have my degree. I have like everything. I can always fall back on it." I was like, let me just jump in. And that's what I do in life is like if I'm curious about something, I just like dive in and try. So I flew to LA. I was living in Seattle at the time. And I went to an open audition. And it's really crazy because I didn't have a kitchen. We were staying in a hotel. And I was advised, or like it was suggested to me to like just ask the restaurant chef at the hotel if I can use the kitchen there to prepare my dish. So I did, and I called the Water Table restaurant in Huntington Beach. And I was like, "Can I use your kitchen? I'm staying here." And they were like, "Yes, absolutely." I was like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, we'll set you up with our pastry chefs if you need ingredients ordered." I was like, "Okay." That was confirmation for me that I should be there, that I should be doing this random wild thing, auditioning for a show. Like, that was never like even in my realm of possibility at that moment. Like, it was just, I was in my career and I was like, a young 20 something year old in Seattle, like enjoying hiking and whatever, but also like really burnt out as a social worker. And that day was crazy. They loved my batlewa cheesecake. I made a batlewa cheesecake in
So
2015.
slow down, slow down. Let's talk about speaking English here. What did you just say? You're telling me not to speak French. What did you say?
Baklava, but it's actually
Oh,
batlewa cheesecake.
okay. So I would have,
You need to come to Dearborn. You need to come to Michigan. We're gonna
I
do the
do.
Dearborn Detroit food tour. Like, and we could do a pop up. Like, let's do something.
That would be fun. That
It
would be
would.
fun. Okay, so slow it down one more. I want to say it right.
Batlewa.
Batlewa.
Perfect.
Perfect. Batlewa cheesecake. Okay.
That was my audition dish in 2015, and now it's like taken the internet by storm. And that was after I published my recipe. But that's like neither here or there. We know how things and food on the internet go. And they loved the dish, and I was like, I'm just gonna go for it and continue to explore food by cooking for Gordon. Like, that's how I'm gonna explore my talent and ability in food.
Yeah. So where were you when they called you and they were like, "Hey, you made it to the next round"? Because it wasn't like, "Hey, you made it on the show." It was, "Hey, you made it to the next round." What was that phone call like?
It was so amazing. I was like, "Yay!" I don't know, I felt like I got into, like, my dream university. I was, like, so excited, and I'm like, "Okay, yay, one step closer." I don't know how many more steps there are or how, this will go, but I always, like, just had it in my mind. My mindset was, like, "Just have fun, cook good food, and, do your best." And that's been, like, my recipe for success and my definition of success in life. So as long as I'm having fun and doing my best and learning something along the way, like, that's all I wanted.
Yeah. I mean, and I share that with a lot of people. It's like we gotta stop looking. Like one thing I've learned from the competition of MasterChef is that everything else doesn't have to be a competition. The only competition is within us of making sure we do the best and not letting like defeat seep in and like the idea that you're not good enough because we all feel that we have this voice that comes in and goes, why are we here, what are we doing, um, and we just got to focus on the love of it, right?
Absolutely, and I think that's, like, one of the dangers and one of, like, the downsides that I don't hear talked about, like, reality television, but also reality competition shows, is that so many of us, especially after the first time, so after season 6, had significant mental health repercussions for going through that process, and a lot of PTSD and anxiety around food and cooking, and, like, I know I went crazy, like, baking cakes, like, every day because 'cause I'm like, "How did that happen? How did that happen?" Like, and it was, like, obsessive. At one point, I'm like, "Okay, like, I need to like, I know how to bake a cake, like, I need to stop proving this to myself." But because it was such a significant and sad experience at that moment, for me, that's when I was like, "Okay, we need to share with others because it's always, like, I always encourage people when they're like, "Oh, should I audition?" I'm like, "Absolutely, like, try your best, but also be mindful that, like, there are repercussions for going this route."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it is interesting, and a lot of people don't know that we have to see we have to see multiple psychiatrists before going on the show, and then in our exit we have to see one. Um, and they're I think they're bullshit. I think the person that they're hiring has no idea because they haven't been through it. I think that honestly, I think that there needs to be like actually someone that's gone through what we've gone through to sit down and talk with someone on their exit, which is kind of what I'm trying to do. I want this my goal with this podcast is actually to get it to where I'm really talking to the person right when they get off the show,
Mm.
right when it airs. So one, it's obviously more relevant, but two, to really help be a part of that decompression, because it's just like you're like, what? You like walk back into the real world. You're like, what did I just do? And then you have to wait for it to air, which is the worst part.
Oh, the waiting is horrible. I think you would be a great asset to have as the person that they're talking to after. And I would talk with production because I think to have someone who's gone through it, and I feel like your losses in particular, because the internet has like taken them also so significantly hard, it just like keeps you in that sadness because everyone else is also really like stuck in the sadness about it. So I think it would be great to have you as kind of that touch point to help people through
Yeah.
what they just went through.
Yeah, that's maybe I should reach out to maybe Danny, and that's a good idea. Because yeah, yesterday I went in. I had to go into this auto store here in Texas. You have to get like every year you have to get your car inspected.
Hmm.
So I took my car in to go get inspected, and like I walk in the door. I'm in the door, and I'm handing my keys over, and I'm turning around, and this guy's walking in, and he just starts losing it. He's like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "Why are you here?" And then all he can say is, "You should have won.
Aw.
I'm so pissed you didn't win. I stopped watching." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just like, can't hear this right now. Fuck." Oh, it's just
But
like
I think
every
there
time.
is something to say about like you should have won, like the comment that people give you is like there's so much belief in you still now. And use that because that's like so powerful to just have like a mass of people like randomly like tell you that they are rooting for you still and like still feel that so deeply is really
Yeah,
powerful. And I
thank.
feel like
It's crazy.
you need to channel that and continue like doing all
Okay.
the things.
Well, I will check in with you and get your ideas more regularly.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. I got some more things I wrote down here, but Uh, Hmm. Oh, I don't know if you know, Kim and I split in January, and we've been going through divorce.
I've been there.
Yeah, so that's why I was bringing that up.
Not fun times.
No, not at all. And we don't have to talk about it if you want, but like, how has it? How have you managed it? How have you navigated it and juggling all like the public stuff and obviously all the other crazy social things happening in the world that I know you really immerse yourself in, and speak loudly in those things, like all of it. Like there's so much going on. How do you handle all that?
I think for me, it's really easy to handle things because I have a strong foundation with my family and my faith. So, whatever really hard thing comes my way, I know I can rely on my support system. My mom, my sisters, like, are always down for whatever it is I need, whatever random thing I'm calling them to share my idea or whatever like whoa life throws at me. And faith, truly, like I always have had a bigger vision for life and humanity, and food keeps me grounded in that because it's so connecting. All of us need to eat, all of us need to be nourished, and food is also like part of my foundation. And when we're going through really hard things, like I think it's so important to talk to people that have gone through it, similar to, being on a reality TV show and losing publicly and facing like the internet afterwards. Like when you go through a divorce, and it's so common and so many of us go through it, but it's not something we really talk about. And I've chosen not to talk about this publicly because I have a child and I don't want this to like impact her negatively. And we co parent really well and are
Okay.
able to find a middle ground when it comes to our daughter. And I think it's also like really important to find other people that have gone through these situations and just like talk. So if you
Yeah.
want to talk about what you're experiencing, I'm happy to because It's been 4 years now, and
Okay.
I finally feel like, "Okay, I'm ready to be, like, in the world and, like, experience life as a single woman in her 30s, who's
Right.
co-parenting."
Right. Because I feel like it's a slower time back into the world for the women uh, in divorce, like when it's a man and woman partnership. I think like yeah, the women. It's more. I think it might be more emotional. I don't know. Like I definitely felt a lot of emotion about it, but I mean, I don't know what happened in your situation, but like for me, I called it off. I was the one that asked for it and spoke up because for the last couple of years, I kept finding myself in situations where it was like, I'm compromising and I don't feel it on the other side. Um, and so my emotions were wearing long before. And I think like for her, like, I don't know. I mean, it's probably much more significant after and becomes like a longer emotional process for women.
I think it's also because of society's expectation on women and how they view women who have gone through a divorce. And for me, I think it also was an added layer of just like cultural stigma towards divorcees and what that looks like. Like, oh,
Sure.
there must be something wrong with it. Like all of these like stereotypes and things. But I do feel it's, society and then like different cultural aspects that contribute to women, facing a harder time kind of bouncing back, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but I mean, the good thing is like the one thing Kim and I had is communication. So we've been able to communicate through it all, and it hasn't. I wouldn't say it's been easy. It hasn't been extremely difficult. Is when there's way more difficult things. I feel like we've all faced. But it's we don't have kids. We don't have a house. It's like that I think made it a lot easier. I mean, I can't even imagine with a daughter. Speaking of, how is your daughter? How old is she? What is she doing?
She's amazing. She's 6. She is playing piano and doing gymnastics and is an artist, but not a culinary artist. She let me know. She just likes to cook, but that's not her destiny. So that's her words. So
Good,
she does
good.
painting and sculpture, art, and like just like fun things. It's so fun to be a
Yeah,
mom.
six is a fun age because they're like you're still parenting, but you're starting to like develop that friendship, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
super cool.
she's getting really good at chopping things, so making dinner, like, on busy weeknights has been a lot easier because
Like here, kid, take the knife, get over there, chop.
Yeah, and then she'll, like, eat the random vegetables because she's touched them. She's, cut the cuts aren't perfect and whatever, and that's, like, part of it, and I've learned to, like, let go so much of that, like, control and, like, wanting to, like, everything to be so nice and organized, and I'm like, "She's learning, and we're getting a delicious meal that's nutritious. She's eating vegetables. She loves broccoli." I'm like, "This is my dream." Like, my heart is so
Wild, wild. Um, Man, what else? Okay, so here's another thing I wanted to know. Um, Season 12, we get this call to come back and put ourselves back in this ridiculous environment. Also during COVID, like LA treated COVID a lot different than the rest of the world. So we went through so much and we can go into that more in detail. But before we get into that, where were you? What were you doing? And how did you feel when you got the call?
So I was working in a nonprofit supporting small businesses, and it was a really cool space. Like I loved it, had like startup vibes, like just great energy. And I got the call and I was like, no, like I'm in a good place. Like I like my job. Um, and I shared it with my family. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna do this, but they're asking, they're like, no, you should totally do it. Like it's important for your voice to be heard and for you to have like this visibility and to share more of your food. And I was like, okay, let me like think about it. So I was like, I know they're gonna be like scouting like all the seasons and like re-interviewing. So I was like, okay, yes. And I was still kind of like hesitant. I was like, Hannah's so young, my daughter's so young, and like, do I want to leave? I like my job. Like, what is that gonna look like? And I just continued on. I was like getting more excited. I was like, okay, maybe I'm gonna do this again. And I really wanted to see Gordon again and like be in that kitchen. There's just something about walking through those doors into the Masterchef kitchen that's indescribable. There's no other feeling. I mean, maybe a similar feeling is like when you're at the beach at sunrise and the sun's just like starting to creep up, and you're like, ah,
There's a magic to it.
there's a magic to walking into the MasterChef kitchen.
Yeah, for sure. So they call. You're like, no. Did they bug you again, or did you call them back and go, okay, yeah, I'll do it?
They bugged me again. They're like, just go through like the process. Just see, if you have any questions, we'll answer them. It's gonna be different this time. I think that was used like specifically like we're gonna be a lot more flexible. You guys have already been through it. It was
They were so much more unorganized. They were a fucking shit show. And I would tell Gordon that to his face. Hey, your entire production this time around was a shit show.
why were we stuck in our rooms?
Uh, like one day we had the gym. The next day was like, you don't get a gym. You don't get to go to the gym. And then it was like, here, we'll put you in a confined gym in a really small hotel room, which I don't know if you even went in there. The second day we had that gym in the hotel room, I went in to go run on the treadmill. And Michael was also, I think Michael was on a bike or something. Michael was in there working out too. And we sucked all the oxygen out of that room. He couldn't breathe. Like literally couldn't breathe. I got off the treadmill and I had to walk out. I was like, I'm about to pass out.
Oh no.
It was not good.
What
Yeah.
was the
So,
call for you? Like when
so I hadn't gotten a call yet. And I was getting my phone and my Instagram was starting to blow up from previous and other MasterChef contestants, people from our season, people from other seasons. And I was like, they were like, are you going? And I knew what it was immediately. And I was like, I'm not answering this. And then I started deleting everything off my Instagram. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I
Um,
don't remember that.
but I treated it like, you know how like sometimes like rappers, sometimes like rappers when they're getting ready to drop a new album, they'll delete everything from their Instagram. I was like, I'm in my new album era. I'm deleting everything. I don't want anyone looking at my food. I don't want anyone sizing me up. Like I'm going
Oh,
dark. So anyway, I got the call and I was like, I don't know. I said I don't know. I said let me think about it because I get like same like you. I have an amazing job. I'm getting paid like the most money I've ever been paid ever, and I'm doing it cooking. I don't want to go mess this up. And I had to talk to my client about it because like I mean, yeah, I feel important in the world, and I do a service, I feed people, I connect people, like, but like the people I cook for, they're 100 millionaires. Like there's so many people that depend on them, and me feeding them and keeping them healthy. Like I feel like I have this like connection to the people that they're helping, and
absolutely.
I'm like this is a big deal to go ask them like, hey. And last time making it all the way to the finale, like I was there for almost 3 months. I'm like, this can't be 3 months. And so I asked production like, how long is the filming? Like, how long do you guys see going? And they were like 8 to 10 weeks. I was like, okay, uh, 8 weeks. Okay. So I went and asked my client first. I was like, hey, MasterChef wants me to come back. What do you think? And they were super supportive, but they were like, you have to hire a chef to cook for us while we're gone. And Masterchef is like, let's go, let's go, let's go. Like it wasn't like the big 6 months leading up like we had last time. This was like 5 weeks we had to make a decision. And so I found this guy, and he literally wanted to charge me more than what I was making a day. And then he was terrible. But I just said okay, and I dipped into my savings, and I was like, this is worth the gamble. So yeah, I spent $15,000 on a chef to cover my spot so I could go do MasterChef.
Oh my gosh.
So when we got eliminated, fast forward, we got eliminated, and I forget what his name was in there, was like, hey, can you stay for the week so you can be, I was like, are you paying me? I was like, I need $600 a day if I'm staying here not cooking for fighting for a title. And he was like, well, I can't do that. And I was like, no, I'm out. I'm walking out of this door right now. And they were just like begging me. I'm like, you guys, I'm not like, I live here in LA. I'll come back. Like, it's not a big deal. They just didn't think I was going to come back. They were nervous I wasn't going to come back. Anyway, that was fast forwarded. So client said okay, and everyone was down. So I said yes to them, and I didn't tell anybody else. And then DeAndre, do you remember DeAndre from season 7?
Yep.
He's a fantastic chef.
Yes. His work is beautiful.
It's unbelievable. And he worked at Scarpetta in Vegas. Anyway, he calls me, and I've already said yes, but he calls me and he's like, I already know they called you. Are you going or not? And he's like, don't bullshit me. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, damn it, there's too many chefs calling me right now asking if I'm going. Like, I gotta go.
I totally forgot about the vague Instagram messages people were sending. I was like, what are these codes? I was like, y'all know we're not supposed to be talking like this. I was like, don't get me in trouble before we even get there. Like,
well, it's also kind of like endearment and a compliment, because it's like, I wasn't messaging asking if anyone was going. Why are all these people messaging me? That means they're worried. Yeah, I was definitely worried about you being there. I was like, because I know, I know who can cook, and I know who was a really good interview. You know what I mean? And you can cook. DeAndre can cook. If DeAndre, I later had a conversation with DeAndre, and he said he wasn't going, and then that's when I said okay, because I didn't want to go if DeAndre was going, because I was like, I'm not better than DeAndre, like, and I just didn't want to. I wasn't even going to waste my time. And then when I got there and there was MasterChef juniors all grown up, I was like, I'm going home. It's like, I was like, I already know what you guys are doing. I already know it. I said it to Kim. I was like, oh, there's juniors here. I was like, it's going to be a junior that wins.
You called it. I didn't even really look left or right, and I was just like, I'm gonna do my best and win. Like, it's my time to win. And there was a wall erected, and I am the voice of tearing down all the walls all around the world. And I found one in the MasterChef kitchen.
Yeah, sadly, it beat us. And I agree with you. I don't like the walls that we put up. I don't understand how we only got this one planet, and until Elon Musk inhabits Mars, we only got this pale blue dot. We have to share it, like, and we could be way more compassionate about it. And I know, like, obviously you have a very strong faith, and I'm completely different. Like, I don't believe in anything other than that there's an uncontrollable energy out there. And I think that's sometimes what people call God, or that's what people praise. I just feel it's an energy. I'm not religious to it, but I also, it hurts deep down inside for me when there's so much religion at the root of the differences. And it's like, we just have this blue dot. This is it. We share the land, we share the water, we share the food. Like, and that's why it's like, when I heard you did Was it Dinner with My Muslim Neighbor? Was that what it was called?
Dinner with your Muslim neighbor.
Yeah, I mean, that's so like that was such a great idea, and I don't know if you do it more, if you're thinking about doing it again, but I think it's when we have the conversations face to face, there's no such thing as a keyboard warrior. No one's going to say that really like mean thing that they're typing out on the internet. Like you have a conversation, and if you're having differences, if you're mature, you can talk about those differences.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, man. It's just like we're in such a weird place right now, and it's I don't know. Tell me like what you're feeling. Where are you?
We are in a really it's a really sad place for humanity. I think people are weaponizing religion, weaponizing race, social structures that we've created that are not even real. Like we don't need to continue in this way. And like you said, we only have this planet to live on, and we it's so much easier to do when we extend a hand and do it together versus building a wall and putting differences between us. Like we come from such different backgrounds, such different walks of life, and we can cook together and do really beautiful things, putting those differences aside, looking for the commonalities, the common passion and interest and curiosity in food, the desire to do really good things in the world. Like there's so much more that we have in common than we have in our differences. And when we fail to remember that because of all the systems that want us to not like each other and get together, the media, all of the rhetoric, especially now during this genocide that's taking place in Palestine, like it's really sad. But the way to combat that is to go back to our human roots. It's getting together and eating. It's having
Yeah.
conversation. It's extending a hand to a neighbor. It's little things that raise up the human energy back because everyone is down now. And sometimes we don't know exactly why, but it's because there's an attack on humanity. Innocent people are being killed and people are suffering for that.
They are. And when you talk about like the energy, it's like we're magnifying negative energy, and it doesn't matter who's right, who's wrong, like all that aside, it's we're magnifying this negative energy, and that's having a serious effect on everybody. And it would be such a simple thing to just put your differences aside and have a meal together and see where you stand, because I think the differences like are where we learn from each other. I mean, that's like the things that we have in common. Great, we both understand those and know those. But the things that you do different than I do is where I'm going to learn a different perspective, a different opportunity for growth, right? Like I kind of did it, and this is kind of a weird like thing to bring up, especially being a man, but like uh there there's always around elections big talks about abortion, and like being in Texas, like it's illegal now, but also living in Los Angeles where it's like there's more, strong vocal boss women there than anywhere else. So it's like I'm around so many different people, so many different outlooks, so many different walks of life, and you know I'm like, I totally understand a woman's right to choose. Like I do not get where like how could anyone be against this? But I'm like, the only way I'm going to know is if I go listen to their ideas and listen to their thoughts, and why. I got to learn what's making them tick. So I went to one of the like really like conservative right wing websites, and there was a documentary about abortion, and they were showing they were like kind of like sneaking cameras in and interviewing people in Planned Parenthood, and they were like there was one lady, she was just like, you can't tell me your situation again, or I can't do this abortion. Like you just don't repeat what you just said to me. It was like, wait, what? Like Okay, that's weird. Um, and then there was a perspective of how a majority of abortion clinics are in underserved and underprivileged neighborhoods, and how that is strategic in a like secret genocide of our own country, our own people that like other systems don't want to thrive and succeed. And there's all like that's all strategic and on purpose. And I was like, well, that's an interesting perspective. I never thought about that. And then there was another interview with this woman. Uh, she's, I don't know, she's 35, 38, something like that, has a master's degree, uh, was adopted as a child, put up for adoption. And her, she went back and she found her biological mother in one of those like services where you can find your biological mother if they're still alive. And she went and she found her and she was like, I just want to thank you for putting me up for adoption instead of aborting me. And her mother like broke down and was like, I did abort you, but you were a twin and I didn't know I had twins and the doctor didn't know you had twins. I had twins. And she's like, I aborted the baby I thought I had, and then you came like to term. And I was just like, holy shit. And this person is just like, I'm so happy to be here. And like in that moment, you're like trying to comprehend the entire thing. And I'm like, now I kind of understand for some people why they feel the way they do. I don't think it overrides the fact that it is the it's inside of a woman and it should be her choice until it's outside of the woman. But like I don't think it overrides that. But I do see where the argument can come from. And that's only because I sat and just like walked to the other side and listened.
Absolutely. And I come from a, conservative religious community, and yeah, I took those learnings, and I still form my own opinion that a woman should have the right to choose, and we do hear those stories, and they're so profound and so powerful, and they're also, more rare stories. We're not going to have so many of those, but it is important to hear those voices and those perspectives, and also maintain the woman's right to choose what happens to her body, because as we're seeing, these bans on things are continuous control from our government, and that's truly
Right.
what I believe. If we're, banning TikTok, social media, like, and we're saying it's because of concern for privacy and all of the security things, okay, whatever. We're banning the flow of information. And if we're
Yeah.
banning books, we're also banning the flow of information. We don't want people to have access to that. We're banning abortions because we want to control, and we'll use our religion and other beliefs to manipulate that, and produce a more powerful argument, I think, because when we speak about faith and religion, it relates to so many other people around the world, because of the numbers of people that are in different faith practices. So I think it's a really interesting time in America right now, and it's quite scary, especially as we're seeing all of the college campus encampments and the militarized police just taking very aggressive force against peaceful student activists. And it comes back to your first point when bringing this up, that, abortion clinics are in poor neighborhoods. Okay, instead of investing all of our tax dollars in police and military, let's invest in health education. Why is that out of schools? Why isn't culinary education in schools? There's so many things in these neighborhoods that need it most, in these communities that might not have the same tax base as the richer suburban communities, so that we can educate people on their bodies, on the world, on their options, and just address the underlying problems. We're such a band-aid society to everything, and then we want to fight about which band-aid we're putting on. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter because the system, the foundation is
Right.
really messed up.
Well, it's becoming. I think what's happening now too, and it's becoming more and more clear, is that like it really isn't working. I mean, when you're looking at what's happening in the Middle East and then what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, it's like our government it's like, wait a minute. So all this money is going to Ukraine for what? Why? And and then the other, then you go to the Middle East and it's like the opposite. We're on the opposite side of the same, a very similar scenario. Like, excuse me, excuse me, and you don't. And a lot of people that are pro military are anti-abortion, which is like, wait a minute, we have all these soldiers with all these guns and ammunition around the world, but and you but you want every baby, unplanned, planned, sick, whatever, you want all them to be born, but you're willing to just walk around and march around the world with guns and ammo that kills people. Like, what are we doing?
Just destroying all goodness that we have and not building infrastructure and systems that make sense for what humans really need. And that's really sad. But seeing the young activists like gives me so much hope. Like all over this country, literally, like almost every state has like college encampments right now. And this is like a pivotal moment in history. Like this
Yeah.
is going to be talked about, going to be written about for generations.
Well, and it's sad that, like, when we talk about the wall, when we talk about genocides, and we talk about just innocent lives being killed, it's like the term history repeats itself
Mm.
is such a sad term that, like, I wish there is a day that we're not saying that,
Mhm.
because as long as we're saying that, it means we're not learning. And
How can we learn if they're banning all the books?
right,
Like,
it's
and what does that even tell for someone who might not be like that curious and into reading? Like, oh, they're like just like subconsciously for youth to hear, banning book, like all these things. Like, it doesn't give them the message that reading is important, that you need to like learn and read history so we don't repeat it. It tells them that books are bad and the government is gonna, take them away so that we can be okay.
yeah, it's so weird, so strange. It's like, I mean, obviously, I think, speaking of books, that you've read 1984, right?
Absolutely.
Dude, like, I keep going back to it, and I'm like, what? This is becoming just a documentary.
This is a documentary. We are living in a very, very strange world.
uh, well, I'm glad that you and I, from completely different walks of life, share the love of food, uh, and know the importance of that. Um, that was a little deep segment.
You went
Um,
there. I was like, "Are we gonna go there today?" And you and
you
I
think I
always
wouldn't
talk
go
about
there?
things, and I think that's something that like happened off camera that I think is important. Like you and I would get into good, deep conversation. Like we would have intellectual conversation, politics, religion. Like it was always something that we were able to discuss from the first time, we met during season 6, which was like so long ago now.
It's crazy.
But I always
And we were, sorry, go ahead.
no, I always respected you for that you were able to ask me and we were able to have a conversation and continue a friendship through that.
Well, it's also kind of wild and serendipitous that, like, our first, like, moment on MasterChef season 6 was together. We didn't plan that. We didn't get control of that. And then our exit in season 12 was at the same time.
Oh.
It's pretty wild.
That is a full circle moment. I guess the MasterChef doors are that chapter's closed.
Well, those doors are magic. There's something about them.
Would you
Because
go
that's, I
back?
mean, would I go back again?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I'm crazy.
Oh my god. Send me a
That's a good.
postcard.
Oh, would I go back? Yeah, I would. I would go back, because there's fucking no way they can let me lose again. uh, it's all third runner-ups. It's all people
Oh.
it's all people that try a third time. Fuck that. I don't know. Um, I do get kind of annoyed that, like, there's, like, they tried doing, like, that MasterChef tour for a little bit, and I was like, you guys really aren't going to hit up the guy that was a touring musician that, like, I could run this fucking thing. You're not gonna like. And then it failed miserably. It was like, I'm like on tour cooking for people in like every state, different countries, Canada, Mexico. Like, I'm like, what do you like? You guys don't want the touring chef? All right, cool. Like, I felt pretty snubbed after all of it. Like, especially like JC. Like, uh, JC just came off so fake to me. Um, back to when we were having our conversations in the green room. Like, yeah, you and I have always had like deep conversations, and for me, like, I just don't like small talk. Like, I hate like being at the grocery store and someone's like, "How are you doing?" Because I can't just say, "Oh, I'm good." I'm like, I want to tell you because if you're asking, I feel like if you're asking, you should actually want to know. And I'm like, oh, today was rough. Like this happened, and it's like, I don't know. I can't do small talk, and I think, I definitely connect with people that can have like a meaningful conversation, and you can. So like that excites me. I'm like, let's talk.
Definitely. And I love that. And I think when you open the door to people to have that, I just had that at the drugstore, and the woman was like so excited to tell me she's learning Arabic, and she like got out her postcards, and she's 65 years old and is taking on learning Arabic, and was so excited to like share that with me this morning. And I'm like, if I just like brush it off and like was like, hi and like whatever, was on my way, and didn't take make space for her to respond, she wouldn't have pulled out her note cards and like wanted to start practicing her Arabic. And I'm
Right.
so fond of this person now. I'm like,
Or and then also that's a moment, and that's a moment for everyone to understand. Like, that's a moment where you make a decision that affects that person standing in front of you, because if you shrug it off, that might discourage her from continuing her journey trying to learn a new language, because like obviously she felt compelled to share that with you. So like that's an important moment, and you have a choice there, and it just shows that like even those little choices every day have just a huge butterfly effect, right?
absolutely. I wonder what
um
the butterfly effect of this is. I hope it's that Reddit will stop blaming me for our limitation.
yes, Reddit, Instagram, Facebook, every keyboard warrior out there, was not Amanda's fault. um in fact, I don't think we should have gone home at all.
Same. Still feel the same way.
I think I have my thoughts, and I'll save them for off camera. But
We
uh,
probably share the same thoughts.
yeah, we went as far as they were going to let us go. Um, what else was I thinking about when I wanted to just chat with you? I don't know. Did we bring up Christian? Should we talk about Christian?
I'd like to not talk about any other contestants because I haven't been like in contact with men. Like, I think the last time I saw everyone was at Dara's
I
party.
know, and I couldn't
I
make it.
know. We definitely missed you. Kim was there.
I
I
know.
know that's awkward, but um yeah. I think, everyone comes with so much, and so much aspiration, so much hope, and also like their whole life story. Like they're carrying that while they're cooking on the show because you have to be so raw. And I think for all of us, like it's it's so much deeper than just cooking for this reality show.
Yeah.
And we all have such big dreams and aspirations, especially like you said, like you had to pay someone to fill in 15 grand like for to take this opportunity. So we're all making such significant and costly decisions to do this thing that I don't think it's fair for me or anyone else really to comment on other people while they were going through it. And that's why I really left it. Even I left even though other comments from other contestants that were being made, after, it's because I understand on a human level how challenging this experience is.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I
You wanna talk about it, apparently.
I just heard about a little romance. I didn't know if it was real or not.
No,
Oh, okay.
no.
Oh, how is the dating? How is the dating life going for you?
You want tea. You want tea.
A little
Um,
tea. I mean, look, like you said, like you, we have deep conversations. We have strong opinions. We're in a very challenging time in the world. It makes, I feel like for someone like you, not for any other reason, but that like you are a passionate person. How is dating now versus like 10 or 12, I don't know how long ago you and your ex were had met and started dating, but it's obviously different. Like, what are those challenges right now?
yeah, so I met my ex when I was 19. So I didn't have much
Yes.
dating experience before that because it was just like, high school crushes, but like that sort of thing.
Right.
And then we were married for almost 10 years. So like, yeah. Um, Dating now I think I'm not I'm not dating now. I'm just single and like I'm open to it, but I'm not like seeking it out. Like I'm just like
Sure.
focused on my career, focused on
Mhm.
myself, my daughter, and I'm definitely open to it. But
Yeah.
when I was
So like what? Sorry, I was gonna say it's like what's the first question when you sit down at dinner? It's like, how do you feel about walls?
oh, I like hope to do like extreme vetting. Like I need to know like your stance on like what's going on in the state of the world, how you
Right.
feel about like all of these things before we can even sit down for dinner. Like that has to be established because
Yeah.
I don't got
You
time.
need you need a Masterchef contract pamphlet that you have to send across the table first.
Yeah.
It's like fill this out. You're gonna talk to this psychiatrist, and then we can talk.
You have to also cook a perfect oyster and then we can talk. Or a
Wait,
perfect scallop.
yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. Okay, we can wrap this up real quick. This has been a great conversation, but I want to play a little game with you. It's
Fun.
a little this or that. I use Chat GPT to create these questions, by the way,
Nice. Always use the AI shortcut when possible.
when possible. I should actually use it more, but it's funny because AI knows who you are.
Oh, nice.
Like anyway, it gave me like questions specifically to you, and then I was like, well, but I was like, you got to be a little more creative because at first it was like, um, would you rather cook traditional? Hold, I don't know how to say this word actually. Kibbeh,
Kibbe?
kibbeh, or modern fusion? I'm like, duh. Like, I don't know. What's the answer?
I mean, so kibbeh is raw, so you don't even cook it. It's like a Lebanese beef tartare. It's really good. I think you would love it since you love your beef and beet tartare. It's really good. But modern fusion, I love it. I all my pop-ups like have some significant like recipe that's like cultural and like historic and important. Then I just like make it myself, like make it my own.
And you make it modern.
Yeah.
So here we are. AI actually asking a good question, and I thought it was lame. And also in AI's defense, it didn't say cook. I added that because I didn't know what it was. Okay, so if you were to do a modern version of kibbeh, what would you do?
I would do a different protein, so it's traditionally made with lamb or beef, and I would do, like, maybe tuna. I've been thinking about that, so, like, more like a crudo, like, s and then just, like, the same, flavors of kibbeh, so having the bulgur wheat, having the Aleppo peppers, having the rose and the cardamom in
So
there.
those four are what make it significant.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that actually kind of like, see, that's why this is so important because it's like so many different cultures have things that are so similar. What are we fighting about? Just,
Power, greed,
uh, uh,
it's yeah.
well, okay, that sounds delicious. It's like sashimi and a crudo. A
Yeah,
crudo is an Italian version of sashimi that focuses more on the sauce because we're Italian. We need that sauce.
always.
That's it. Um, all right, let me see here. Let me see some good ones. Oh, here's one that AI wants to know. Would you rather do dinner in Beirut or brunch in Paris?
Ooh, dinner in Beirut for sure.
Okay. Why? Why not brunch in Paris?
Um, Beirut, Lebanon's where my family's from, and I'd love to go back. And dinner in Beirut is unmatched. Like the nightlife, the city life in Beirut is incredible.
Yeah.
People are up till 4 in the morning, like all the time. It's just, yeah.
I'm just thinking about an almond croissant in Paris. That's my
I think the
jam.
French banned hijab, so I don't just based on their messaging, I don't feel welcome. So
Wait, what?
yeah, there's like hijab bans in France. Like you can't wear it at university or if you work like in government, you can't like yeah, it's like absurd and ridiculous. So
I'm not even. I'm speechless right now.
it's so dumb. And
It's so
almond
dumb,
croissant, I mean, I would love to visit Paris and eat all of the pastries.
right? I just went and visited my parents in Arizona, and this woman. So they moved to this tiny little town called Cottonwood, and I'm like, I just asked my parents, I'm like, why? Like, why are you going there? And I haven't been there yet. So I drove out, and then when I got there, I was like, oh, this is beautiful. And it's like so just chill. Anyway, this lady took a train car and turned it into a little bakery. She doesn't bake in it, she just actually uses it as like the pastry storefront. But it's a little train car, and she's a French trained patissier, and shit was insane. It was so good, and it's in this tiny little town, Cottonwood.
That's amazing. I love it.
So you don't have to go to France. We have them. We have them here in the U.S. Okay. Shawarma or shit. I forgot how to say baklava.
Batlewa.
Batlewa. Spicy shawarma or sweet batlewa.
Oh, can I have both? The I would go for the batlewa for sure.
What if Gordon Ramsay's making the shawarma?
Than the Gordon Ramsay shawarma.
You're
So I
too
can tell
easy.
how it's not right.
You're funny. Um, mm. Breakfast for dinner or dinner for breakfast?
Oh, I've done both. Cause like leftovers at breakfast, you've done that, right? Like dinner
Oh,
leftover.
when we hang up, I'm making steak and eggs from leftover steak from last night.
I love it. Breakfast for dinner. We do that usually once during Ramadan because we like when you're fasting, you're not having your traditional breakfast food, so then we like miss having breakfast. So I always like dinner for breakfast during Ramadan.
So, like in the obviously, I think a southern U.S. staple is like biscuits and gravy, and I feel like a lot of. I mean, there's just so many like similar breakfast foods around the world, and there's just like one little like what is like a Lebanese breakfast that would be like one of your favorites that's completely so traditional that we would not understand or know.
So fulim damas and fateh. So fulim damas is like a fava bean stew. That's like made with cumin and garlic and lemon, olive oil, parsley, tomatoes, like super delicious.
For
And
breakfast?
yeah, it's so good. Well, so breakfast in the Middle East also like is like later. It's not like no one really is getting up like at 6 a.m. and eating this. It's like 10, 11, like later in the day. And it's
Okay.
always served with like a ton of vegetables. So tomatoes, cucumbers, green onions, radishes, like always like accompany it. And like some pita bread and Lebanon. You just like dip and eat. And there's a really great place if you do decide to come visit in Dearborn called Al Tayyib that does a really great traditional Lebanese breakfast. So I would go there.
Amazing. Yeah, we should. I want to work that out. I really do. I would love to come up there, and we should definitely do a pop up together. Or you could come to LA and do a pop up with me in LA.
Yes.
Um, I think both would be a lot of fun. My biggest challenge is I just work. so much with my client. I mean, it's just like 5 days a week, sometimes six. But I do get some random 3 day weekends, so we can definitely plan something and make something happen.
Great.
Amanda, anything else you want to share? Uh, I avoided bringing up the fact that no, I'm not even going to say it. Birthday cake on your birthday. I avoided
Oh,
that. We're past that. We squashed the beef on "It's Not Your Fault" with the wall. What else?
that is it. It's been so great to chat, to talk. It's always nice to connect with the other contestants because we've gone through such a unique life experience and not many people can relate to all that it takes. So this was really refreshing. It's so great to chat and catch up, and we will talk more offline because I think we both
Yeah,
have
I
a
think we
lot.
both need to. Yeah.
Yes.
What do you have coming up? Do you have anything this summer that you're trying to promote, or you got that people should be looking out for?
Yeah, so I work for Detroit Food Academy now. So we're an after school program for youth ages 10 to 24. So we provide basically like a cooking club after school. And we have a really big fundraising event this August, a seafood boil. And that's what I'd like to plant the seed for everyone to be on the lookout for. And if you're local, we'd love for you to join us
So, a seafood boil in Dearborn in August.
in Detroit.
Oh, sorry, in Detroit.
Yep.
What day in August? Do you know?
I will let you know soon.
Okay, we will promote that. Let me know. I'll put it on my story as well.
Thank
That's awesome.
thank you.
Well, Amanda, thank you, and I look forward to more chats. And anytime you want to come on here and chat publicly, we can do that too.
Sounds great.